Welcome to Enlighten Ed, a podcast for educators and parent educators. It is a space where we can learn together, be enlightened together, share and grow. I am Dr. Regine Filippo, the CEO of Attest Education, a program and school redesign organization. We infuse inquiry, STEM, personalized learning approaches with equity and innovation.
That's type of teaching, like you see and you hear more student voice. Students are talking. Students are drawing things. They are building things. They are making suggestions with each other. It's just amazing at this level.
I don't just teach skills, I also teach my students about what it means to be a professional. How you can conduct yourself in a mature and responsible manner, because that's what's expected of you when you're in the workplace.
Because I think some people they're afraid that one person might dominate versus another. So I'm going to start with you because you started to talk about that. It's interesting that you set a culture so that everyone understands that they're included and that, in my interpretation, that they're important, their voice is important. How exactly does that happen, right? Because we have been in those situations where one person does dominate. Right?
So one of the things that I do is everybody have a job. Everybody in the group has a job. You may be the director, or you may be the person who transcribes things, but every student has a responsibility to that group to do something. And once they get used to that, they know that they are going to have to do something. And with the people who dominate and take charge, because you do have those high achievers who will do the project. Right? And it's like sort of their voice. So most of the time I will have them, because I know they can do it, I'll pick or have kids who are less likely to speak, who are much quieter, who will sit and say, well, I think that you may have the qualities to be the director. Like, why don't you try it this time? And then I go over the roles with them and talk to them about what your job is.
Well, tell us some of those roles. I just heard director. I was thinking leader. You said something about director too, or something like that. So what are some of those roles?
Let's say if we're doing, because I do a lot of stuff in my room, but let's just say like one example of something that we do student-led book clubs. And so it's strictly the student. They pick the books. It's about what level you're on. It's not about, it's academic, but I'm trying to build a community and a culture of you have the ability to lead this. And so the director will facilitate. They start the meeting. They talk about what it is that they want to accomplish. Like they have goals for their reading. They want to go home and they want to read a chapter a night. And they do that. They talk about it. They set the plan in place. And you have somebody who is taking notes. Now, the note-taking may not be the best. I'm trying to teach them also we have to work in case we don't have technology, because we're very dependent on technology. And so then we have people who are summarizing. We have people who are paying attention to vocabulary that they may not know. So everybody, the person who talks about the vocabulary, when there's a new vocabulary that they notice that they don't know, they're writing that down, and they are coming to the next meeting prepared to share what that's like. So we have a summarizer who summarizes the text so that they did, or summarize what happened in the meeting, and then be prepared for the next meeting. So try to have something for everybody to do. And I start this in the beginning of the year small, because I know when we get to the projects, I'm going to want to use this work, not necessarily calling them director or organizer or giving them names when you get to the project. But if you build that build that culture, you build them up, they'll take a leading role when you're doing the project, or they won't sit back and not talk or be a part of the discussions. They're not afraid to make us. Some students are afraid, at my level, are afraid to make mistakes or afraid that they're going to be laughed at. I need to make sure that we don't have that culture in my classroom. So I start in the beginning with little things like book clubs. And then when we get to doing the projects, you'll notice like now this time of year, they're all over the place. They're doing all kinds of things. I'm just like looking like sometimes I'm amazed at what I see. But I have to do little things first to make that happen.
Thank you. Norm, how about you?
We have jobs to do too, and certainly at the end of the day, in the last 50 minutes of class, we got a lot of cleaning up to do. So we have a job board with assigned duties, and each week, so a student will be assigned as the manager, and it's the manager's job to assign all the other roles to the other students, and it's also their responsibility to see that the students are doing their tasks so that they're getting accomplished, and. And this way, there is no one person that is the manager all the time. So it's fair, and everyone gets everyone learns all the jobs because they rotate through all of them. So on a given day, once a task is done, every student would have known how to do it. So that's just I found that works the best when it comes time to close up the classroom for the day. Sometimes I'll start the day with just. The students come to me in the latter half of the day, so they've already had half a day under their belt, sitting at a little desk, following the rules. Now we'll just sit around a table and say, well, tell me a little bit about what's on your mind. It doesn't have to be biotech. It could be something that's going on in the school. And I found this is just a good way to kind of get a feel for what they're thinking, what's going on, and outside of my classroom, and also. It allows them to know they can speak freely and feel comfortable speaking, saying what's on their mind.
This is really great. I'm looking through my notes to see what the rest of my follow-up questions are. I wanted to ask you, because I think we got to the question of community, because I've heard you guys talk about the fact that this is a culture. You do spend quite a bit of time building that culture. So if you could say maybe a little bit more, I know you've said a lot already, but in a way kind of pull it all together for us. What are the things, one, why is it important to even build that culture, right? And two, what are these things, the sequence of things that you might be doing to build the culture? So Norm or Rita?
Well, one of the things that makes a CT program a bit different than your typical classroom is that my students come back year after year. They're with me from grade 9. And so they've gotten to know me very well. I get to know their personalities quite well, which is, frankly, I love that about the way I get to teach. And I think when other people come to my classroom, when I get observed, I say, I really like how everyone's kind of quirky in their own way, but you let them be themselves. But they're respectful of the others too. And I guess, I think about, if I was in a world of work, people are too busy to worry about, personalities too much or quirks. So you have work that needs to get done. So it's okay to be different, as long as you're being respectful to the others in the group. And I found that works well for me, and my students seem to appreciate that. And I think it does make them feel safe. They in a way, coming to my classroom feels like they're coming home, in a way. And so I think that I like to see my students feel that way, because it allows them to be comfortable, and it does allow us to work together better.
I've learned that collaboration and communication is urgently important in the lower grades. A lot of students, you don't know what they're capable of until you hear their voice or know that, like, In previous years, we have gone by having kids do standardized tests or do end of the week tests, and that we're basing things on on how they're writing or how they're answering different types of questions. But I learned that kids can share their thinking and show what they know in a lot of other ways besides a pencil and paper. So I have started doing a lot of circles where we are having discussions. I even gone back to the old strategies that we used to use a long time ago, like the fishbowl model, where kids are constantly in a circle and they're constantly sharing things and they're just having their own discussion. I'm learning that information or that way of thinking is transferring when they have to work on projects together. They're talking. And in the past, I would notice, like, these are young children and a lot of them are very shy and they are afraid of being wrong. So I feel like building that community to say it's okay to talk. It's okay even to make a mistake. It's okay to even get the answer wrong or what we may think that is wrong. Different perspectives is what I try to share with them. Like, these are not right or wrong, or I wouldn't say right or wrong. I would say yes or no type questions. These are things that a lot of times is your perspective. And I also share with them a lot of scholars today who are really famous and well known. They put things out there. That's not necessarily that they're right, but then they get evidence to support it. So I'm also teaching them whatever you believe or whatever you bring to the group, be able to support that, be able to share. So it's a lot. I'm going to say it's a lot of work. It's very hard. It's not easy to do, but starting as small as getting them to be able to share their thinking openly and to talk to people and say what you're thinking versus putting something on paper, because a lot of them struggle with writing or struggle with trying to say what they need to say. And so we spend a lot of time in collaborative groups talking. I even have like tables in the hallway, and I thought the fire department was going to say you got to take a people come from the district and you sit at those tables, and so it's okay. You can get up and go out and say we're here, and they're having their discussions. So I don't know. I can't say it's going to transform to higher test scores. I can't say that. I'm not at that point, but I can say I'm seeing something that I've never seen before, and that's kids are continuously talking. And I'm feeling like good about it, that I feel like the community that I'm seeing in front of me, that we're building something that these kids can take with them to the next grade, in the next grade. But if you sit quietly and never say nothing, we don't know what you're thinking.
I'm going to end here because you've said so much. You've shared so much. I'm going to just say a little bit about around what I heard. I heard both of you talk about classroom setup, from the very simple things that sometimes we don't think about to the very complex of the kinds of tasks that we're doing that I heard you guys talk about. I remember my first year teaching, I didn't really understand why classroom setup was important, but I had this wonderful coach, Kathy Draper, hello, when I was in Boston, who said, Regine, we've got to change this classroom. We've got to put these desks together. And this was 20 years ago or so. And that really made a difference. And that encouraged students to talk to one another. So I heard classroom setup. I heard roles a lot. I heard that there are distinct roles and very creative. I hadn't thought about the person who's in charge of vocabulary. I'm going to use that one. I'm going to use that one because I also teach a research and writing class. Lord knows. I've heard about the job board, and I heard that kids rotate taking on the leadership role, so the manager role, the director role. I heard that you start small. Both of you said that. Both of you said you start with very small experiences to build culture. I heard building relationships, so getting to know your students, getting to know the family, sharing their identities. Norm, you talked about just at the end of the day, or they're coming to you the latter half of the day, and just asking them to share about their day as a way to build relationships. In terms of starting small, I did hear both of you say, start the collaboration right away, however small, right? Is there anything I missed that you'd like to add?
One of the things that I want to be clear on, that, I mean, it's a lot of hard work, but I also share a lot of me with them. I want them to know I was a fifth grader before. I was where you are. I share about my life, who I am, where I want to be. I want them to know that every teacher, the president, the soon-to-be president, whoever you go before, the professors, they all had to come through that fifth grade classroom unless they got a promotion or something. So I'm trying to let them know, like, you see me in this role now, but I wasn't always in this role. I don't always know everything, and you can help me. And believe me, I get a lot of corrections. I get a lot of them telling me what I should do and how they think I should do. I should get a suggestion box, because, I mean, this is what coming from the kids. So children at that age, they have a lot. They have a lot inside that they want to share, that they bring in the classroom with them. I don't want them to leave their cultures outside. They use some language that sometimes I'm tipping it and say that's not proper English, but then I stop and I say, okay, that's you, and you got to let them be them. So it's just little things, like really letting them know that you're human, you're a person, you're not this magical person who don't who don't make mistakes. I definitely start out with them and letting them know. And I accept when they come and share something with me and say, Miss Ross, I think you should have did it like this. So you probably should have not put this person with that person. So, so I listen to them. And so I think for their ages, young as they are, I am really excited about what I'm seeing.
Thank you. Norm, anything you want to add?
I think that it's important for students to know that this is the time to make mistakes. It's also the time for them to try different things. If a student comes up to me and says, Mr. Rousseau, I don't think biotech's for me. I think I want to switch out to something else. I'm like, this is a great time for you to be saying that, because you don't want to go through 4 years of college and find out you majored in the wrong thing. Make a change now. I think I want my students to understand that I'm fully invested in their success. It doesn't do me any good to see anyone fail. So I want to look for every way for them to find success, even if they have to make a lot of mistakes. Even if some of my students, it feels like they're starting over again and again. I said, well, how can we do better the next time? Maybe this will show you how to remember that step so you don't make that mistake again. Because I know it's going to make the whole organization stronger. You're only as strong as your weakest link. Well, I want my weak link to be as strong as possible, because I know that's going to, everyone knows that, you're not, you can make mistakes, but I don't want anyone to fail. And so, you show your students that you support them all the way, and that their success is what makes me successful.
Thank you. This concludes this episode of the Inquiry Classroom.